This morning, Ukraine's president made a surprise visit to a key city just freed from Russian troops. Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in Kherson this morning and spoke to soldiers and civilians, calling the liberation the beginning of the end of the war. Chris Livesay spoke to Zelenskyy, where he found a city full of joy in the middle of war.
So this is the road to Kherson. We've been given a military escort, and we have to drive very, very carefully because the road is just littered with vehicle after vehicle that's been blown to pieces, not to mention craters left over from explosives and other debris from what has been nearly 9 months of an effort to reclaim this area and the city. But the children of Kherson can't wait any longer to come outside, like Kirill and his friends. We're going to play hide and seek in those trenches once we're allowed to, he says. President Zelenskyy is wasting no time either. President Zelenskyy, is this the beginning of the end of the war?
We're ready for peace, but our peace for our country is all our country, all our territory. That's why we are fighting against Russian aggression.
For the people of Kherson, victory and freedom have never tasted so sweet. Once, they could be killed for singing the Ukrainian national anthem. Now, they can shout it.
Russians promise that they're here forever. They are lying. They are not here anymore. And they are not forever.
But the jubilation belies unspeakable trauma for survivors like Alexander. He takes us to his mother's house where he says 40 Russian soldiers lived for months. You can see his mother's clothing all over the floor. As we poke through the mess, he tells me he couldn't stand it anymore, so he asked them to leave. They answered by pointing their rifles at him and giving him a shovel. They made you dig your own grave. Only at the last minute, after 2 nights of digging, he says, did they change their minds and let him live. There goes one of the collaborators, he says, pointing to a neighbor he claims helped the Russians occupy Kherson. How can you go on living with them? I don't know, he says, and I don't know how they can live with themselves. And now the rebuilding can begin. President Zelenskyy also told me how grateful he was to President Joe Biden and Congress for the American weapons that have been critical in retaking this city. For CBS Mornings, Chris Livesay, Kherson, Ukraine.
Yeah, and as Chris is tagging out, you can still hear the gunfire and the shelling there.
Wow.
I'm happy to say he's okay. Still a very dangerous situation.